one day I was hanging out with my BFF Harry Styles, and we were having a picnic at the park, and it was really fun. And then my friend Barack Obama called me up and was like, "Yo, there's 50% off chicken tenders at McDonald's." So we went to McDonald's. Oh, we picked up Barack first, who didn't live at the White House, didn't know why. And we went to McDonald's where we stood in line, and there was a really long line for chicken tenders. It was really interesting. Okay, so if you haven't already guessed, this is about dreams. To quote Dominic Cobbs from the movie Inception, "Well, dreams, they feel real when we're in them, right? It's only when we wake up that we realize that something was actually strange." Today I'll be explaining to you the symbolism involved in dreams, but first I want to cover some history and theories and the stages of sleep. So dreams aren't new. Dream interpretations date back to 3000 to 4000 BC, where they were documented on clay tablets. In ancient times, dreams were originally believed to be messages from the gods or supernatural communications of some kind. In ancient Egypt, Egyptians had a process called dream incubation, and if someone was emotionally disturbed or they needed help from the gods, they would literally put them in a sleep temple where they would sleep, and then when they had awakened, the priest would interpret their dreams for them. So the practice of dream interpretations has been going on since the beginning of humankind. And why do we have the dreams that we have? What do they mean? Okay, so the stages of the sleep cycle. Something we all have in common while we dream is that we're asleep, and the brain is actually very active during sleep. The first stage is the transition between wake and sleep, and it's like when you're drifting off, it only lasts a few minutes. The second is deeper than the first, slower, more regular wave patterns. And then stage 3 is slow brain waves. This is where the deep sleep begins. Stage 4 is the deepest stage of sleep, and that's when we are least responsive to the outside world. And then we slip into REM sleep. Okay, and REM stands for rapid eye movement. It occurs 20% of the time. It's active sleep, heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing increases. Eyes move back and forth rapidly like you're watching an action movie, and that's when dreams happen. Dreams happen in REM sleep. And everyone has dreams, but not everyone remembers them. So this is your brain in non-REM sleep, and that's your brain in REM sleep. As you can see, there's more orange, and there's more things going on while you're asleep. So this guy, Sigmund Freud, is a psychologist, also known as the father of psychology. He came up with the unconscious wish fulfillment theory, and that's a picture of him over there. To uncover, he said that dreams represent unconscious wishes that dreamers desire to see fulfilled. They are conflicts, events, and desires of the past that are represented by symbols. And this is his theory. So to uncover these so-called wishes in our dreams, we attempt to analyze symbols. And some symbols are universal in their association, but some are unique to a person's past. And some research to support this theory is that the part of the brain associated with emotion and motivation, known as the limbic region, is very active during REM sleep, and while logic and analysis, the prefrontal cortex, is not. All right, so according to various psych journals and studies, most dreams convey a negative feeling, like aggression, anxiety, and fear. That's the most common element in dreams. And as you can see, aggression is the highest, and they vary from males to females. Everyone dreams about different things, but there are common elements. So these are from psych journals and studies, and they say that women tend to dream about people they know, personal appearance, family, home life, and then men tend to have more male characters in their dreams, usually outdoors. So aggression is the highest, next come friendliness, misfortune, and so on. All right, so what do my dreams mean? Dreams are a mysterious and fascinating world where the rules of reality really don't apply. I showed this picture earlier, and I wanted to explain that the brain activity in REM sleep is much higher. As you can see, it's like way more stuff going on. And this is you right now, and this is you when you're asleep. So there's the Freudian theory that says that your dreams are everything in which your subconscious mind holds and retains throughout the day. Because you have two minds. You have your subconscious mind, which you don't always have access to, and then you have your conscious mind, which you're using right now. And when you're awake, your brain is processing about 15,000 bits of information per second. The words I'm saying, the slides you're seeing, your surroundings, everything. So when you're asleep, your brain has more leisure to enter your subconscious mind. And that's why dreams are represented to believe that they represent the inner psyche. And this reason then causes many people to attempt to analyze symbols and patterns in their dreams, to sort of provide them with better insight and means of further exploration. So I'm going to go over some dream symbols that I found were the most common element in people. So the first one is flying, and it signifies a sense of freedom where you had initially felt restricted and limited. Does that make sense? Like you're flying in your dream, you feel like you're free. To see a cactus in your dream suggests that you are feeling invaded and that your space is being crowded into and that you're feeling suffocated. Cactuses are actually very common in people's dreams, which I thought was really interesting. Some more symbols is stealing. Stealing is one of the highest things, according to psychology journals, is that when you, most people have dreams about thefts or someone stealing something from them, and that means stealing suggests that you're feeling deprived, or to dream that someone is stealing from you means that you may be having an identity crisis. It's quite profound. To dream of a car may reflect how much control you have over your life. Is the car out of control, or is someone else driving you? And I've got some interesting ones, more dream symbols. To dream of the devil or Satan signifies that you may be feeling guilty about something minor. So Satan, the epitome of all evil, you may be feeling guilty about something minor. To see an ugly baby in your dream means that you fear someone's motives. And to dream of a muffin symbolizes that you want to be pregnant. All right. I got these off of dreammoves.com if anyone wants to go check it out. It's a psych journal and it has a bunch of alphabetical order you can look up and interpret your dreams there. And everyone has dreams every single night. You just don't remember them. Approximately 5 to 7 dreams every single night. And they contain what could be relevant to your subconscious mind, which is why they're so fascinating.
All right, so Elva, what did you think?
I think it was a really good speech. It had a really good introduction. It was funny. She went over the subtopics, and also she had really good visual aids. She explained each visual aid, and she also used some signposts and used sources in the citation.
Okay. Well, let's see. I like the humor in the introduction. I thought that you had a nice dramatic transition to the topic with that other slide. That worked pretty effectively, and so I thought that was great. I knew what the topic area was going to be. I'm still searching a little bit for the exact thesis of the speech. I know what the supporting points are going to be because you did have a very good preview of what the structure was going to be, but I just know the topic, and so I don't know exactly what I was supposed to get out of that. Now, I know I gave everybody approval on a purpose statement, so that purpose statement needs to be a little bit more clearly identifiable in the introduction of the speech. Like I said, I thought you had a pretty good preview, but in the body of the speech, I think that the signposts were not as consistent as they needed to be. There were a couple of slides that actually had the questions that contained some of the signposts for the transitions that you had, but it often felt like we were just jumping from one point to the next, and so the transition statements need to be a little bit smoother and clearer, and you need to kind of remind us of where we are at each given point, because I would say probably for the first 2/3 of the content of the body, it just seemed like all the material was just and it's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and there's no particular way in which it's being grouped. It's interesting information, but it'll be easier for us to hold on to and recall if there's some structure for it to hang on. There's a lot of claims about, for instance, the amount of time that we spend in sleep, or what the dreams interpretations mean, and I don't really think that we get much source citation on that. At the end of the speech, I got a source citation on a bit of information, but that really felt almost like a footnote as opposed to a concomitant citation of the sources that you were quoting at any given point. And that just feels to me a little bit inadequate. I think that you need to be more consistent in the sourcing in the body of the speech. The visuals, I think, are pretty effective. I was a little concerned at first because you had that one image up of the brain pattern and it went by very quickly. I did appreciate the fact that you came back to it and talked about it again, because I think it needed a little bit more explanation at that point. And then you start adding some extra information there, and I liked that. I thought that the information was good. Again, I do think you need to do some sourcing on that. The visuals, I think, occasionally rush by. I think you've got too many slides. Right, you need to cut down on the slides, and in fact, like the questions, for instance, I think you're relying on the questions on the slides to make the transitions for you instead of you're doing it for the audience in the speech. I think you'll actually have more control over the content if you do that instead of letting the visuals try and do that for you. So that might be a way to fix those problems. I did think that the big pages in your hand looked a little bit awkward, and so every time they were flapping around, I thought, well, that's a little distracting. So you probably want to go to the cards. You didn't seem overly dependent on the script most of the time, but there were probably 10 to 20% of the time where there is a little staring at what's on the page that's going on. But for the most part, you did good audience contact, and I thought that worked pretty well. Like I said, at the end, you give us a source citation on the material. Several times you referred to psychological journals and that sort of thing. I'm going, well, what psychological journals? Which ones are you citing? When I look at your bibliography, and if I see a list of 6 or 7 different psychological journals, I'm going to be asking myself, well, why didn't she cite those particular journals in the speech? That seems a little awkward to me. The exit, I'm going to beat up on you a little bit like we did with Alan's speech. It just feels like you hit a cul-de-sac and you're done. You need a bit more of a summary that's going on. To me, some of the information that you included in the exit would have made more sense earlier in the speech, and then you could just maybe come back and talk about, the interpretation of dreams, or even so what is my dream about going to a picnic with Barack Obama and what's the other guy, Harry something?
Dude.
Okay, the One Direction dude. I'm sorry, I don't know him well enough. With your chicken tenders, what does that mean? That means I feel guilty that I can't decide between these two men. I don't know. Make a joke or something like that. Okay, thank you.